We must confess that this field trip is a bit of a tease. The views of the Chestnut Ridge Heritage Preserve are truly stunning, and the plants and animals are amazing. But the trail system won't be quite finished when you watch this show. But a good pair of boots and a walking stick will get you through the logging roads easily enough. Check the map in the parking lot, and then strike out into the woods. Some of the flowering plants, like the Sweet Betsy Trillium, had already lost their bloom. This Zizia was nearing the end of the line too. But these sweet white violets seemed to be just hitting their stride. And these blackberries were still covered with blooms. It seemed every insect in the preserve was paying it a visit. At this end, one butterfly after another fluttered in for a turn at the sweet nectar. Down at the other end, a honeybee was not to be outdone in the diligence department. We hadn't gone 10 feet before we saw this familiar home for the spittle beetle in a white pine. And even though it added some color to the landscape, we doubt this canker near the base of the same pine was a welcome visitor. Scattered along the hillside was an occasional patch of fire pink, holding tight to rocky slopes that challenged us to scale them. Then we found water. All these slopes have to channel rainfall somewhere, and that somewhere is eventually the South Packlet River that flows between Chestnut Ridge and Squirrel Mountain. A quick look at a topo map shows a good half-dozen drainages that send water south to the Packlet, then on to Lakes Bowen and Blaylock in Spartanburg County. And if ever moss was going to find a happy home in a wet environment, this would be it. Even though the heaviest rainfall amounts are found in the northwestern mountains, the foothills that run through Chestnut Ridge still average 10 to 15 more inches of rain than the rest of the state. And if you're looking for records, look due north. In 1979, the weather station at Hogback Mountain recorded the highest annual rainfall in the state, 120 inches. So if you love water, this is a great place to be. And we found quite a few water lovers on this field trip. Here's one of those big trees I mentioned, a very healthy beech tree by the river. All the way down in the river, we found our first salamander of the day, and we almost didn't spot it because it was so well camouflaged. Can you see it? Up at the falls, the typically shy crayfish was in typical form, peeking out beneath a rock as we scrambled to get the camera set up. Meanwhile, his cousin at the base of the waterfall was a little less shy, but he still didn't waste any time scurrying into the leaves lining the pool. Then a flash of wings at the top of the waterfall caught our eye. We watched for several seconds as a Louisiana water thrush very thoroughly checked things out there at the top. Then he hurried away to the nest he likely had nearby. All this activity made us look a little harder, and we realized that there were salamanders everywhere up here. They again blended in so well with the background that they were hard to see. We even found one sturdy beast hunkered against the rock and catching the brunt of the falls. The southern Appalachian region has one of the richest salamander faunas in North America. The interesting thing to remember is that salamanders are amphibians with very porous skin, so they are very good indicators of the quality of the habitat. The only disappointment of the day came when this gold turned out to be pyrite, or fool's gold. Well, I guess we'll be back at work on Monday. Moving from river to ridge, we were amazed at the number of pebbles, rocks, and boulders that dotted the landscape. The largest boulders were very crumbly and turned out to be a mix of quartz, feldspar, and biotite. It makes you wonder how long something so large but so easily broken down might last in this environment. Most intriguing were these many piles of neatly stacked stones that our guide Rob Harrison took us to see. We guessed everything from unfinished fences to prehistoric hijinks. We never did find anyone who knew for sure. As we strolled along the actual ridgeline, we finally found an open space on a rock face to enjoy the view. Squirrel Mountain and its distinctive knob were off to the south, while Glassy Mountain could be seen to the southwest. We breathed in that cool mountain air for a few minutes, stretched out on the rock, and listened to the birds in the canopy overhead, and then began our hike back along the spine of Chestnut Ridge Heritage Preserve.